Okay, welcome to the world famous, the best, the most well-known PPC podcast, the PPC Unfiltered podcast with Cory Lindholm and Michael
Yo,
Nadalin. Cory, as I always say, how are you going, mate?
I'm fantastic, sir. How you doing?
Good, I'm going great. As we see, you wouldn't have seen this just before, we both had a drink. I've got a ceremonial cacao with lion's mane, which is good for the brain. Cory, what do you have?
Don't judge me. I got a Red Bull. I got a sugar-free Red Bull. I rarely drink it. I was telling Michael, but today I needed it. I have not gotten enough sleep. Too much work over the last few days, and it is what it is. I'm having fun.
Yes. This is what happens. You need to have energy to do the work that we do. I think there's still a lot of sentiment that you could just have some sort of effortless automated system to do the work that we do. But, at some points you do have that. But then there's the next area, which is just being an expert in any field requires you to be a mad scientist. None of the
Yeah.
best people in the world of any art or profession are just going, I just do my craft for 2 hours a day. They're doing it like psychotically for too many hours. So
Michael, can
Cory
we can
is
we vent on that for a second because I really
vent or
I want to
just
I want to vent.
vent or actually just share our beautiful wisdom from
Yes,
our ivory
yes,
tower.
that's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Beautiful, excellent.
Again, I'm the tired one, so yeah, he's
Yeah.
gonna have these elaborate descriptions of things. I'm just gonna be straight to the point today. Okay, so I it's very top of mind for me because it's funny you say that. I do get asked that question, like, hey man, you're the mad data scientist. How can I template everything because I'm working too much? And I go, well, that's not really how this works. Here's why. Your domain expertise, whatever service you're providing, Google Ads, Facebook ads, whatever, if you charge a lot for it, there is high expectations. And with high expectations comes some level of customization that's required. Now, it doesn't mean you need to customize everything, and you shouldn't do that. If you're an agency providing this service for multiple clients, you cannot have, I don't think, ethically have just a template for everything. You just sort of push a button and everything's automated. I don't think that really makes sense. Why? Every business is different. Every goal is a little bit different. Every marketplace is a little bit different. Every platform is a little bit different, and things change. Competition changes, right? Seasonality changes. The price changes. The product availability. Sometimes your services that you're offering through a lead generation strategy are also changing. Sometimes the internal metrics need to change, right? Your accounting department said, guys, we cannot keep advertising at a 3x return. We need to get 4x. Guess what? Now you've got to change things. Now, that's really the big part of it. I just want to say you need to customize. You can't have just a boilerplate template for every single thing. Michael, thoughts, considerations?
Mate, I love this. I love this. Even though we've got two other topics to talk about today, this is a juicy one to start off with because it's not one or the other. It's both. It's an and statement. So you need to have things templated and customizable because if you do everything customizable, you'll only be able to run like 3 clients and then your business is like you do need templates in terms of strategies, like not templates, but more internal frameworks that set the baseline, the fundamentals that you work from. And that's usually your IP. And yes, you build from there. So yeah, man, of course I agree. Yeah, it's like everything does require customization. It's just crazy that people. I was saying to one of my business partners the other day on the phone call, it's like it's crazy to think that there are agencies who do Google ads, Facebook ads, and they're like, yeah, we're really good at what we do, and it's like, yeah, but like at what industry? It's like what business? Like every business is different. It's just being like, yeah, I'm good at business. It's like, well, what were your businesses? Like it's very different if you're running like a multi-billion-dollar company versus a few small companies. Like just saying you're good at business is like saying good at ads. It's because it's so varied. Ecom, lead generation, SaaS. Is it for small budget, large budget, medium budgets, multiple channels, holistic channels? Like, marketing that you don't want people to see, marketing that you want to do mass marketing and branding. Like it's just I think that's when it comes to that template part. It's like you can't template this because every business, every strategy is different, which means that every Google Ads, Facebook, or any ad campaign needs to be different. Ads always need to reflect the business's outcomes, not the business outcomes reflect the Google Ads strategy of the agency. It's
Right,
wild.
exactly.
It's stupid. It's
Yes.
silly.
Yeah, you as an agency shouldn't be adapting the client's objectives to what you can offer them. That doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. That's the wrong way to think about it. You need to be adapting the strategy for the client's objectives. That's what they're paying you for.
Yeah. And I'll put in the and statement rather than but. It's also important to know, and this is the big thing I've recognized, and Cory, I'll say this confidently on your behalf as well, is most clients, their sample size of business is one, which is their own business. So they may know their business and goals, but they're caught in too much of a tunnel
Yeah.
because of your experience and my experience working with hundreds of businesses spending hundreds of millions of dollars. We have this like altitude that even if we don't understand their business myopically, you'd have to be a damn fool to not see patterns amongst
Mhm.
businesses in general, businesses in that industry, businesses like them as well. So then you can come in with knowing their business and their goals and strategies, but also, once again, it's an and statement. It's not listen to them 100% or just listen to them
No, no, no,
do
no.
you think. It's listen
Yeah.
to what their goals are and bring in your expertise, your
Exactly.
industry expertise, your channel expertise to, because that's why people are paying you. They're not paying you because you're just like a nothing. They're paying you for your expertise, which usually comes from past experiences and your results.
Yep. Yeah, we're business partners at the end of the day, right? We provide a service to the business, but I think as more things become automated or we lean on technology to do some of the manual labor, the importance of being a business partner becomes more and more obvious. And that's where your value is going to lie eventually. It's not going to be pushing the buttons, tweaking the little things. You're still going to need to analyze the data, but you're going to need to analyze the data through the lens that you have cooperatively figured out in terms of objectives for this
Yeah.
particular business. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, man. This is look, I want to say a few more things and then we can jump
Yeah.
into our next topics. Is once again, it's the whole checklist template mentality that you see on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn and online or even YouTube videos. The one way you do this to get results.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't all like this checklist that does it. And like I get that people do it for like it actually like if you're a really low beginner, it really does help you. But you're at that intermediate stage, it actually like I'm not going to use the R word. It lowers your growth. Um, don't even think about it. And you've got to recognize that there comes a point where you've just got to follow your own experience and guidance. No video, no course is actually going to show it, except for these videos. And just recognizing that, yeah, that you've just got to treat every business differently. You can't
Mm-hmm.
template it. You really
Yep.
can't. And last night, what I actually did was I'm doing a big restructure of my company at the moment. And it's even on going into each Google Ads account and just removing all these old scripts that have been running because they've been going into my Google Drive, pushing into Google Sheets. I'm like, we're not using these scripts. And it's like, once again, that's part of that mentality of like, here's just another script that you apply to an account. It pushes data to a spreadsheet that I never look at, never use. And actually, it's actually taking up more mental RAM of me going, oh, there's, more data that I can analyze. But I'm never analyzing it. And even when I have, it's not been useful. So that templated approach, that scripted approach, that checklist approach, guys, it's got to die.
Can you call
It's
them
got to
out?
die.
Are you willing, Michael? What are the scripts that you got
Yeah.
rid of? What are the things that are
Number
just
one,
totally wasted time?
number one, anything by Cory Lindholm.
Yeah.
Number two,
I knew it.
anything by Michael Nadalin. No, of course, dude. I would never name people out. There's a lot of really, that's the thing. There's a lot of really innovative scripts out there
Mm-hmm.
in terms of not usability. What's the word?
Design.
Design's excellent. The ability to take action from it is low. Now, firstly, you do need to have transparency on your data first before you take action. But the data outputs that I usually see rarely even allow you to take action from it. So that's why old simple boy here with his spreadsheets is just getting the raw data out and building custom reporting based on the client's needs. And sometimes it's just as simple as what the month is, clicks, impressions, costs, conversions, return on ad spend, whatever it is, some offline data on a monthly level for the year. That is way more powerful than all these wonderful, juicy billions of line scripts that just at the end of the day, you're just not using to make any business decisions to move the needle. Rant over,
Yes.
for me at least.
Rant
Thoughts?
I mean, yeah, you want to get rid of wasted brain space and obviously wasted storage if you're paying for it. Never a bad idea. I think it's a good practice. Any kind of data warehousing management it's really easy to procrastinate that. You've got old scripts. You've got maybe some really not so modular scripting or functions, and you need to clean those things up. It's not easy to go do that, because if it's working, it's working. But if you're not even using it, well, you forget it even exists. So,
Yeah.
Yep, it's one of those best practices that is easy to forget. But I think there is a benefit to your point, the psychological benefit of cleaning that up, and also reminding yourself sometimes, oh yeah, I forgot I even had this. This is actually, I could adapt this into something like a pipeline that we're already utilizing.
That's something that we can jump into now, the next subject. So I'm just going to document the timestamp so it's easier for our team to cut this up.
You're welcome for the bridge. All right, good.
So this is something at MarketLead. So I told Cory this before. I'm rebuilding the whole agency from the ground up. Everything's been going amazing, but just over time, as the company expands, you also realize that these little almost like branches are built just for random, like clients when they're random things, and just like spending more time on outer scope work than just like the service agreement. And I'm like, okay, how did we get there? So the question I asked myself was, if I had to start the agency over again, based on all my experience, all the success and all the lessons and learnings, how would I structure it? And that's literally just how I'm going about it now. But it always, and then I'm looking at all the different pillars of the company and then the flow of clients. So the discussion point I wanted to have today with Cory is, for my own personal gain, so hopefully you guys get something out of it, is the processes around number one, screening clients, and then number two, onboarding clients. And I'll just define screening versus onboarding. Screening would just be, you've got a lead in and you're just trying to see if they are relevant for your business. You can help them. They understand your expectations. Like there's no random like, oh, I expected this because of that. Or they, you know how people just like expect shit just because they do? Like no one's everly verbally said it. So setting the expectations of what you don't do rather than even beyond what you do. And then onboarding is basically that point where you've set the expectations, you've told the price, told them how you work, they've signed the contract, they've agreed, and now you're moving forward to bringing them online. So let's start the conversation. Cory, how do you start your screening process?
Hold on.
Okay.
This is your idea. You start, and I will add to, and I will agree or disagree.
No, well, mate, I'm interviewing you. I'm trying to like get all the juice out of your brain. Okay, so look, the screening, savage. Okay, so the screening process. This is something, because I worked at 3 agencies beforehand, I didn't ever learn how to do well because these agencies would kind of take on whoever would pay type of energy.
Right. Most agencies.
I know. And this is the issue when you're running a boutique agency. So like highly skilled, highly qualified, is that you have all these like mind viruses from the past or the industry, because most agencies are just trying to get by cash flow wise, or most freelancers are just not attracting anyone. So they'll just take on anything. And it's easy just to feel like that's a norm when it is for the 99% of people. But that's not me. That's not you. And ideally, that's not for everyone. So this is when it comes to screening. What Jack and I do, who's the senior in my team who works with me, is we just look at the client, look at their business, look at their industry, and we just go, hey, have we had success in this in the past? Or 2, do we think we could have success? More importantly, are they a red flag industry for us? We've got a bunch of industries that we've just put in. Now, we've spoken about this before, but a red flag industry.
Yeah.
And really identifying if they are a red flag. If they are a red flag, it's just like a hard no. Now, me being me, the spreadsheet lord, emperor, is I've actually built out a spreadsheet. So then when I'm going through that first call with them, I'm answering a bunch of questions just with drop downs to screen them. Like, do I feel like they're going to be one of those, like, are they like a super analytical client? that's like asking you about like the most in-depth data, which, you know, some people love that. I don't want those clients. They're annoying because they're actually just like controlling. It's not like they're analytical and they love it. It's just more that they're controlling. And there are other ones as well. Like, do I get a sense that they're very like, once again, controlling, like they want to be emailing like every day, or are they like very just like hands off, like, I know you, I trust you, you do your magic. We have a monthly call, maybe a few emails in between. So just trying to understand the interpersonals of it and screening them for. And honestly, if I go through this, it really is more about the person than the business. So that's just part of our screening process. What are your thoughts so far, Cory? I've
I
just
just want
dumped
to
a
ask
lot
a
on you.
quick. Yeah. I want to drop in a quick question. I think it would be helpful. Is how do you say no to clients if they're a red flag? How do you do that?
Well,
We can cut this out.
this is interesting because I've only had to really get to this point recently. I've usually been able to price people out just by going, hey, I think I'm too expensive for you. So in the past, it was usually people who we didn't think were relevant. It was just because I was small businesses and our rates are higher than the average freelancer. So I literally would just go from the start of the call, I think I'm too expensive for you, but I'm going to sit here and give you a lot of value.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would set the frame. And then over time, they'd be like, wow, this is really valuable. How much do you cost? And it's like that. And I'm like, okay, we can't afford that now, but in the future. And that's just to build goodwill and I'll offer value.
Yeah.
At the start of, it must have been last year, at the end of last year or the start of this year, I had this guy follow up a few times. And I was just like, man, I just knew this dude was just like, he was gonna be a lot of work, a lot of work.
You
And
build
just
an
like
intuition for that. Yeah.
oh, man. And I just realized, like, in the past, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, I'll take this on. And then, like, you know, just, you know, surprise yourself. And then just comes a point, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. Life's way too short. Like, life is too short, not like this day, like all this stuff. And I just said to him, I was just direct. I'm like, look, man, I just feel like you'd be too involved and too controlling on it. And he goes, what? I'm like, I won't be able to work with you. And he's like, no, 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 I won't. I'm like, man, you are. Like, I can already see that from you. And that's fine. And like, you should have someone that you should be able to go to and ask all these like questions about like the myopic stuff. I'm not that person. I don't have that time. We do deliver really exceptional results for clients. But at the end of the day, that's not enough for some clients. And for you, I know that's not going to be enough. You're going to want to know everything. You go into the account. And he's even told, even when it's like when people date, it's like you can kind of you ask people what their experience was like with their ex and see how they respond. So I'd ask him about like, how was your relationship with your previous agency you ran it?
Yeah.
And you just see how they talk, and you're like, dude, you're gonna treat me like that. Like,
Yeah. They took over an hour to respond to my email.
yeah. So that was, and I just remember saying to him, like, he's like, no, no, I won't be like that. I'm like, dude, you will be. I've already seen it. You keep mentioning about like all these things, like those patterns are a pattern of a certain archetype of client that I just won't deal with. It doesn't even matter if you say you won't be like that. It's like there's an old, I think like Zen parable of, let me just take it off course for a moment, of a scorpion and a frog. And the scorpion and the frog want to get to the other side of the lake. And the scorpion goes to the frog, hey, can you take me to the other side of the lake? And the frog went, no, why would I do that? Like, you're a scorpion, you kill frogs. And it's like, why would I kill you when I'll drown in the middle of the ocean or the river, the body of water? So then they go along, and then the frog's swimming, and then it just goes, what was that? And the scorpion had stung it. And he goes to the scorpion, why did you do that? Now we're both going to die. And he just goes, I'm a scorpion. That's what scorpions do. Now remember, doesn't matter what psycho clients do. That's just what, like, whatever they say, that's just what they do. It will be, they know that them being like that will destroy their business and burn relationships along the way. But that's just what they do, guys. They're just a scorpion, and we're just some beautiful frogs.
On your first date, which could be your prospecting call together, they keep bringing up their ex, and you're just like, all right, this is not going to be good. They're not ready for this yet.
But you've got to ask them as well. I also elicit out of prospects. I go, you know, have you worked with an agency before or done in-house? Or why did you leave that agency as well? And trying to really pull that out of them. Now, this is the thing. This is me personally. I'm not going to say this on everyone else's behalf. I tend to actually like, if it's the right type of client and they've worked with previous agencies before, most people won't like that because of all that drama I was just talking about. But I actually like it because I know most agencies are bad. We just come in, restructure accounts, do good work, communicate, get exceptional results. These clients who come in at the start seem like they're super controlling, end up being like never hear from them because we actually, God forbid, did what we promised we'd do, which was communicate and do high quality work. So I don't always mind getting an account from another agency. I just prefer not to. But if I do, it's just like I always know it's usually an easy win because most people suck. Anyway,
What do you think? What do you think
cool.
about those clients that they've only done it in house, and the person who was doing it is still there, and that's going to be your POC, your point of contact? What do you think about those? Those can be challenging in their own unique way.
So from my experience, it's usually the point of contact is happy to let it go, or the point of contact is that person is actually getting fired and they just don't know it.
Mm.
You know that, don't you?
They know it.
So yeah, we all know it. So it's just like, and sometimes those accounts that they're really easy, similar to what I was saying before about just getting that person usually working on the accounts only had that experience of that account, so maybe half a dozen other in their lifetime. When we've had like hundreds, so like the ability for me just to look at an account and go do this, this, the probability of that increasing is probably like really, really high versus them being like, yeah, but this keyword here, I'm like, bruh, I don't even know it, don't care. I look at data and patterns.
Yeah, I would just to a quick tip on that. If you're not really sure if that person in that situation is going to be overbearing or not, ask them what they're going to be doing now. Like if this was taking a
Yeah,
lot of their time, have they replaced that with other things? Are those things strictly experimental? Because if they are not replacing it by much, or it's just extremely experimental, like, yeah, I was spending probably a few hours a day on Google Ads for this one account. Now I'm going to be, just mostly doing TikTok and Snapchat and stuff like that. I'm just going to try it out. That could be problematic. The longer
yeah,
they've been managing that account, it kind of feels like their baby, and they're kind of like letting someone else babysit it temporarily, as opposed
yep,
to, that we need to delegate this task. It's my choice as well as the owner's choice that I shouldn't be doing this anymore. We want to expand it. I realize I'm not capable of doing that. Here you go. We're interested in working with you. That can be a great thing. But if it's just totally experimental, they're not really on board, and you can tell, that could be a nightmare situation.
definitely. So I want to just quickly actually bring up that spreadsheet I was talking about, just so we can actually. Now, Cory, I would, once again, guys, this is a selfish podcast. This is about me right now. I'm rebuilding and really wanting to restructure these things so then I don't have to, like my team or I just don't get caught in little problems anymore. So this is a bit of like just the scoring framework. So, Cory, can you see this?
People are going to ask you for this, right? Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
And they're not going to get it. I don't care.
Okay, good. That's the precedent. I just want to make it clear. Okay.
Yeah, guys, I'm not helpful.
You will not get access. Okay.
Just some basic things in terms of the business, like the business size. Is it like business type? Sorry, lead generation or e-commerce? The
What
business
do you
size,
do when it's
small.
both?
Duh. I just like turn the call off and just leave. Let's walk to the beach and think. Business size, country, Australia, US, UK, or other. Country is important, guys, because that usually would mean other people there. Channels, Google Ads only, Google and Facebook only or mainly. Have they run ads in the past? Yes or no? People don't think about that. Like having an account with data in it is very different from an account that has no data in it.
Mm-hmm.
Who ran the ads? The internal by the owner, internal by a team member, an agency, a freelancer, or no one.
Where's the choice for some asshole?
That's me, mate. And are they spending more than $3,000 a month? Yes or no? Now,
Why that one? Yeah, what's up with that one?
Because I think there needs to. This is what's crazy. Okay, I know it's a big ego flex to be like I work with big budgets, but some of the biggest clients I work with actually have really small budgets and they spend more on management than ad spend because they work in industries where, for some reason, the cost per click isn't that high, but the market share isn't. You can't like expand that much further. So I always notice like when I say minimum of 3K, it's more that if they're like, oh, I've got a $500 budget type of people. So
Yeah,
some people just come in with that. I just start with 3K. We've got actually a lot of accounts that only have 2K a month. That's fine because like it just gets them what they want. So I say 3K because I'm just trying to like push that echelon up a bit.
yeah, it's all relative to the cost per clicks and the value of a conversion. So
Yeah. And do we think users want their product or service? Yes or no?
I love that. That's a good one.
I know some of these things might seem really simple, but this is just like the mental framework before auditing the account, because when you're taking on these clients, you're getting into a relationship. You're trying to identify red flags. So it's like you're going on like a first date, trying to like suss out all these things because these things can cause chaos. Is it clear what they want?
Michael does this, by the way. He has one for dating as well. He pulls out a spreadsheet on his phone and he goes, okay, I'm just kidding. I won't even go there. Move on.
That's interesting that you're kidding about it because I'm not. Look, if you want to have a really good, successful life, you got to be clear about stuff and you got to start setting the qualifications. Clients, friends, family, but more importantly, yourself.
He really does have a spreadsheet for dating, I think.
Yeah, I do. I have them for friends as well, but that's a different one. I'll show that to you privately, Cory. But let's not digress. Is it clear what they want? You know, beyond just going, I want to do ads. Like, yes or no?
Oh, just okay.
Like,
Yes.
I know it seems really overly simplistic, but you can't achieve something if you don't know what that thing is. And I think sometimes people also just come to agencies going, oh yeah, like I've heard you're good. Can you just like take it over? It's like, well, what do you want? It's like, I just want you to run it and make it better. What does better look like?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know. And then if they do have an idea, is that a realistic result? Yes or no? Like if they're clear on what they want, is that realistic? They're like, oh, I want to get my cost per click, my cost per lead from $30 back down to $5 like it was 10 years ago because, you know, that's what it used to be 10 years ago. We've all had those. And I know this is going to be, this is just, by the way, this is just an internal thing. This is like a real one. Do they use the word scale?
I love it.
It's been real, guys.
You might have to explain that one.
Okay. Okay. You know what, Cory? I'm going to let you explain it, even though this isn't a spreadsheet.
Because you don't want pro entrepreneurs that don't actually have realistic goals and they just hear the word scale because they read the latest business book. And
exactly. I think this actually tends to come from in e-commerce, by the way. Cory, that's what I'm saying, Cory. You're probably more versed in it. They're like, just want to like scale our ad spend, scale our revenue. It's like, yeah, like who doesn't? But like the fact that they use that word, it's almost like a value. And I'm like, I get the sentiment of it, but it's like anytime I hear the word scale, it's like, once again, it's bro language, which means they're not business owners.
I can just see you on the call just going, scale. Oh, okay. Let me just check that box real quick.
I do, mate. I do. And the reason why I do it is this is pattern recognition, dude. Like I've worked with hundreds of businesses, worked at big agencies. Like there's just patterns and you just got to be real with stuff. Like you can't be idealistic in business. You've got to be real. Like idealistic people are the visionaries who like 99% of the time fail. And then that 1% of the time create all the drama for the people who actually implement it. So, you know, I actually care about my team. So,
real quick, I assume these all eventually get scored. And is it like a weighted score depending on the answer or which category or how do you guys? Okay.
So there is a scoring system. If it's yes, it's a warning sign. If it's no, there's a score that comes. I'm not going to show that because I think their formula is a bit broken, but it will show like out of 100% what probability of success there is. Okay. Well, there was a few tabs at the bottom that I hid just for the privacy of the people who scored low. and didn't work with us. So I'm not going to show those, but there is a scoring system. Communication, this is where we actually start to get to some of the, rather than yes, no communication, low communication, and high communication. Now, the reason why no communication and high communication are in red is because high communication is usually bad, just bad.
Do you mean desired communication from them, or what does this mean?
You just kind of like get a sentiment of like what their communication style is going to be. Are they wanting to like email and jump on calls? Okay. Like, yeah, okay, a lot. Gotcha. Now, there's also the no communication side where you have clients who just never get back to your emails, and you send them 5 emails and they never get back. Now, that's really bad. That's really bad because you don't like, it just puts you in this unknown area just going, what the hell do we do? Like, I need feedback here. Like, this is I'm doing work and I need a feedback loop. And whilst as much data I can have, we've got a few of those at the moment. Now, it's good for like time, but it's really bad for just like your mental RAM going, this dude hasn't got back to me. I need to get back to him.
And if you have any performance incentives baked into your pricing, it can really be a big problem, because then all of a sudden the sale already launched, no one told you, and then all of a sudden, like, you're missing out on opportunities to spend more on areas that are working. So, yeah, it can be a real big problem. So don't underestimate that. Yep.
Definitely. And then we go into low communication. Now, I say low communication, it could be just like an email once a week, once a fortnight, performance updates. They're like, yep, cool. Let's organize our monthly call. That's most of our clients. And that's what most clients should be like. Like, imagine if I was calling up my accountant every day. There'd be something wrong with me or my business versus my accountant. Like, we just touch base like maybe once a month, once every 2 months. Like, you've got to also understand that this is part of the qualification, is understanding the business and their requirements will actually start to influence the requirements of communication, which is time. Every email at least will take you 15 minutes. If you have to do 10 of those a week versus 1 a fortnight, that's a very different time capacity and a matrix of how you could work with clients. So understanding this communication, this can actually influence how much you need to charge a client. It's purely just based on the time or even the mental RAM. Like, no one ever goes, I love this client because they email me every day. They go, this client's stressing me out and is affecting my mental health. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the thing. You got to realize the mental health impact of having bad clients. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen more than enough people who are good, like clear-headed people, after they left an agency, have like really bad mental health problems purely because of clients and purely because of communication. So mm-hmm. I'm committed to myself and my team having good mental health. So I'm not going to ever compromise that by like one bad client, ever. Yep. Catastrophizing. Do they catastrophize? Yes or no?
It's a good one to have in there. Yep.
Really good. Personality. Are they analytical or general?
I just want to add, with catastrophizing, that is like a slow working poison inside your agency or as a freelancer. You know, you go, okay, well, you know, I get it. You know, performance has been bad recently. They're transitioning from one agency to another. Things seem to be bad, but man, it's very hard to draw the line between, are they catastrophizing and not. I'm sure during these calls, you're kind of like, is this a no or is this a yes, right? How do you guys think about that?
Are you asking the audience right now, or Michael Nadalin on behalf?
It's your spreadsheet. You. How do you kind of go? Yeah, this is a yes or a no. If it's a yes, that's a big problem. Yeah.
It's an intuition. You've just got to have people skills. You got to have emotional intelligence. You got to have enough experience of this stuff as well. It's like, this checklist isn't going to bypass you from having to deal with real life. It's just, you can really suss this stuff out. And like, the issue with a lot of this is, a lot of companies will have a salesperson selling and they don't pick up on this stuff, and they don't really care because they're like, I just need to hit my sales quota. So like, I just handball it off to the team. And then that's when like you said, the virus in the company begins. And then there's a cultural shift. And then people who used to be really positive are now burnt out and stressed and snappy. And then like, it really just starts on board. Like, this is what, if you just get good clients, you'll have a good business. Mm-hmm. As in, doesn't even matter how much they pay you, because the amount of time, if they pay you half the amount of some other client, you might actually take like a third of the time. So they're actually more profitable and you can take more on. So got to move away from just the dollar amount, but the catastrophizing is, you just got to You've really got to try and elicit it out of them. But the reality is, people, what's that saying? Like, people, like who someone is so like clear that the words that like are so loud that the words they say you can't even hear them. Like, people will just unconsciously show this stuff to you.
Hmm.
And if they don't, if you ask them questions, it will elicit it out of them. I think questions are the most important thing. Just got to ask about a lot of things. They're trying to like enrich this mental map of this person. You don't want to like, like typecast people. But at the same time, you've got to start to pick up. If you do a lot of these, rather than just going, oh, this person's bad because they've got a small budget. If I can go through all of this and these are all the different angles I can hit upon, I can then get a more enriched map rather than just going, yeah, they seem like they're catastrophizing. It's a no. Versus going, they've got realistic results. They're catastrophizing probably because their business is in a bad place, but I know I can do a good work because the business is good. It's a legit product. It's a legit service. And they actually seem like a good person. I just think they're probably a bit stressed right now.
Yeah.
That's why there's a lot of questions here to enrich that map rather than just going one or two things.
Right.
Personality, are they analytical or general? Now, this is the crazy thing. Everyone kind of says they're analytical because it sounds like you're smart, but they're not. So it's kind of like, don't ask people this. It's just kind of, you'll pick it up. It will be based on how they talk about things in the account as well. And sometimes the issue with analytical people is they're analytical on the wrong type of things, which means then you're going to have to be talking about you're going to have to educate them about that versus our best clients who make the most money have no idea about this stuff. They just go, yes, you get us lead and we get sales.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I don't want analytical people because they get in the way. Like, I get that some people do it because they're like, I need to know it to like trust like the agency. But it's like, look, I get that you got trust issues, but if you're bringing that into our relationship, no go.
And the more analytical they are, it's going to add to your overhead, your logistical overhead for reporting with the client, not just emails, but your monthly reporting calls or whatever your cadence is. It's also going to add to that. So consider those as well.
Yeah. The thing about my team says is about me is especially with the calls, I know all the data on all the clients, even if I don't work on them. I know it all. I know all the strategies. I know potential strategies, but I'll never ever go into a client call talking about the results. I'll talk about the results, but I'll never go into the weeds because that's never the conversation that moves a business forward, at least in my type of clients we work with. So I know all the data, and anytime someone brings something up, I can answer it on the spot. That's just like who I am as a person. It's not something you can learn. But then also I know that if I'm talking about results and the really in the weeds stuff too much, it actually is not what the client wants. They just want results. Talk about results and talk about strategy and move on. Like, all this over analytical stuff, it's not needed for most businesses. I know for Cory, for your clients, it's definitely needed. But for a lot of just like honestly, 80 to 90% of businesses don't need that. They just need to get the result and have some strategy and just get on with life.
Yeah. Are we successful? Are we not? Why not?
Yeah.
What were expectations? What actually happened? That's a big part of it.
Yeah. Technical expertise, they're very technical, or they knows, or no, or they're not technical and they don't.
Yeah. That makes more sense with that context.
I know. So I kind of like understand that. And then also their position. Are they the owner? Are they a marketing manager? Are they an operations manager or someone else? Now, I don't know why the owner is in red. I personally prefer working with owners because it means that I say something, they agree, the team has to do it versus a marketing manager, operations manager usually have to go up for approval, then come down. I usually like the clients I work with, I always work with the business owner because it's like that's kind of just how the relationship ends up happening. And then that's why things actually get done. So probably
I could see that maybe it was an indicator of company size, right? If you're dealing directly with the owner, it indicates maybe a business is going to be a little bit too wanting all that in the weeds nuance, which doesn't really align with the spend in their account or the data volume, etc. I could see it being a warning flag, but not like a stop sign.
Yeah, well, in my case, once again, I don't think this for everyone. Business owners are busy. So they don't have time to be analytical, which is
Should
good.
be.
So it means I just get onto a call and go, the results are good. This is what's happening. This is what's this. This is what I recommend. What are your thoughts? And then just talk shit for the next hour or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It just means that the communication has to be direct versus sometimes with marketing managers, you've really just got to like give them everything. So then when they're reporting up, you're like giving them everything versus working with the business owner. They're just like, I didn't know this, this, and this. And you're like, sweet, here you go, here you go, here you go. What else is going on in life?
Yeah.
That's just me. That's my personality though. So these have got to fit the people who have to work with them. I prefer working with people who are business owners who make a lot of money, who just are busy. And they just go, yep, cool. We're going great. What else can we do? And it's as simple as that. I think the communication, again, that's been copied down. Not sure what's down there.
It's twice as important. That's why it's in there.
That's it, mate. That's it. Now, this is a concept called Elf and Half. It's from a guy called Joe Polish, and it's about clients. And you want to know, are they easy, lucrative, and do they seem like they're easy, lucrative, and fun? Or do they seem like they're going to be hard, lame, annoying, and frustrating? Usually this is more post the fact, but you can start to pick these patterns up after a while. And it's just trying to like get that.
Michael, we've talked about this before, but I just love hearing your take on this. What is lame? How would you define lame?
You know what lame is. It's just like, it's like the business is just like, like you can get the results, but you're just kind of like, is this going to be like you live once and you're like, is this really the type of work I want to be doing? Like, are these really the businesses I want to serve? Like some people like, I love working with like, I'm just going to put it out there, like pest control or like electricians. I'm like, that's so lame. Like, do you know, there's just some industries, like it's more like the industry is just like, even if I win, I lose. Like, even if I get them their results, I just feel like, is this what my life's worth? So just, yeah, that's what it is for me. Like, I've got a lot of mates who like love working in certain industries. I'm like, geez, I would rather just work at the local milk bar than work with them, just because it's just like, I know it's just lame. Just like the industry is just like, really. So yeah, that's what I thought.
What
are
your
thoughts?
Bar? That was so Australian of you. I don't know what you said. Like a McDonald's?
It's like a general store, like a general store. So
it's like a milk bar. Like the 1950s. What are we talking about?
It is. Corey, we've got 15 minutes left, so I definitely don't think we're going to get into the onboarding stuff, which you can do next week. But we'll keep going this. Do I like them as just a human? Like, am I actually like getting that vibe that I'm like, there's a connection here? Because like, you're going to have to, we're spending our time working with these people, communicating with them, like taking on their problems. Like, we are taking on their problems. Like, we're here to solve problems, but also with all this stuff up here, like, am I willing to do this for this type of person? Do I actually like them? Am I interested in their business or industry? That kind of goes with the whole lame thing. Does the MarketLead experience suit them? Like, do we have experience, or do we actually think that our experience is transferable over to them? We can make a really good impact. And once again, is this someone we want to work with? And and you start to see like a part of these are kind of like some businessy things, but they're more just like personality based things, because people are the problem, not the business. So that's like our new client qualification that we go through with. I do it privately on the side, and I'll show it to the team. And
now,
then
do you have the team do that as well? Are they starting to do that themselves?
I do it because I do the screening, because like bad clients are honestly like cancer. They're a virus to your business. Like, people just really don't get that. It's not inefficiency, it's bad clients. And also then like toxic team members. But it really does start with bad clients. Like, I need to really have the strength. And that's like my strength. I'm really good with picking up people's like things that they're trying to hide. I can pick it up. I just sniff it out. So I do that. And then from that stage as well, by doing all these questions, it's also I'm setting the expectations of going, this is how we work. So going back to some of those things of scoping our clients, it's doing things like this, asking about their business. But then when it gets to the stage, it's like also telling them about our working style. Like, I don't care what they expect. I'm like, this is how we operate. Number one, you pay the invoice at the start of the month. It's not late. You pay it. Number two is we have one monthly call. That's it. Number three is we can do a few, like there might be a few calls in the first month just as we're onboarding, but after that we move to a monthly cadence and we schedule them in. Number four is we work on your account weekly, not daily or whatever. Like we'll just check, like we check them every day, but it's more like changes if they need to be made will be done weekly, major changes monthly, fortnightly updates, and we build out like automated custom like reporting that's dynamic for them as well. So then, but that's what's included. But I go, this is what at least I'm doing now. This is what's included. Anything else you need, additional calls, if you feel like you need more emails and stuff like that, or additional reporting or additional channels, let me know because we need to scope that. And this is the price based on it. So then putting the price based on the scope, because the terms make the deal, not the price. Like if I go to a client, our service is $100 a month. They're going to be, yeah, that's amazing. And it's like, but I don't work on your account. You don't call me. There's no emails. I just charge you. That's very different from going, I charge $5,000 a month and this is what you get. So setting that expectation. And then there's the setting of the expectation, which is one thing because people say yes. Then there's the managing the expectation, which is clients and businesses will start to go, oh, can we just this? And they get an inch. And then next minute, before you know it, 6 months later, you're doing all these additional things that are so far outside of that original scope that you're like, how the fuck did we even get here? So
scope creep, as we call it.
Yeah, and everyone talks about scope creep, but it's this really fine balance between like going above for the client and trying to wow them versus going, if I knew that they needed this, I would have had to charge differently because of the time requirements involved. So I've spoken most of this episode. When I was trying to ask you questions, Cory, this is the biggest interview flip I've ever seen. It's disgusting. It's disrespectful. So now, in the next 10 minutes, I want you to give me a bit of a brain dump on anything I've said and your feedback, because I'm trying to milk the juice out of your brain.
So let's focus in on the screening prospects section of this, because we didn't get a chance to get into the onboarding clients. I mean, that's a very big topic, but
yeah.
I'd say if I had to simplify it, I'd put it into kind of four. Let's just say three different sections. So one is going to be assessing the data readiness, as I like to say. So essentially, and Michael, we talk about this a lot, tracking conversions.
Yep.
Are those conversions tracked accurately? What is the source of truth in terms of where we're getting that data? Is it Google Analytics? Some attribution tool, whatever. So
I'm typing this down, by the way, just letting you know. Like I'm learning here. So if I'm like looking around, guys, it's not because I'm rude. It's because I'm learning. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, you're good. But yeah, so assessing the data readiness is really the first thing I want to see. I want to really figure out what are the capabilities of the data that we have, right? Because that is going to be the foundation in which we determine strategies, tactics. We're going to align those with objectives, but I want to be clear about that right away when I'm in the screening process. And we're just talking a really quick check. I am not talking about logging into Google Tag Manager and, it's just there's not enough time for that, and you're not probably being paid for this screening call. So that's free consulting, and nobody should really be doing that. But just a quick check, again, assessing the data readiness. The next big one is going to be, we've talked about it a lot here because it's so important, which is clarifying the goals and the expectations. Always very important. Yeah. It's probably the number one thing I am looking for when I'm screening prospects is what are we looking to achieve here? Is it incremental revenue? Is it profits, volume, growth? Is it like brand awareness or brand presence? What is it? Is that nuanced? Is it account wide? Do we need to account for omni-channel? What does that entail in terms of your goals and expectations? And then I am going to be assessing, and more often than not, I'll ask them, do you think that's realistic? And that's a very, very powerful question. Yeah. Some people don't do that. I think they just go like, all right, well, I just want to get this client. Sounds like they want a lot more conversions and they really got to fix their return on ad spend. Okay, I'll just do both at the same time and figure it out. You got to ask, if it sounds unrealistic based on your experience with the industry, with your channel in particular, I think it's a very powerful thing to ask, and I would really recommend, do you think that this is realistic? It can really create a lot of good conversations and help
Yeah.
them also realign with what might be an unrealistic goal. And then sometimes the truth really comes out like, I don't really think it is, but this is what the owner is telling me that we need. I agree with you that I don't think it's really that realistic. Again, people are smart; they can read between the lines. And if,
Yeah.
if you're asking, they probably assume you don't think it's very realistic, and then that can create conversations that they can then bring back to those C-level executives or just the owner or whatever. It depends on the business size.
Yeah.
So clarifying those goals and expectations is huge, and just showing that you care about the business, right, is a part of this. Because if you're just looking for the sale, why ask about goals and expectations, right? So I think it also sets a precedent that we're going to be a partnership here. This isn't just I do the work, I do your bidding. You ask me to create a campaign, I create it for you. That's not what this is. There's freelancers out there that'll charge you $5 an hour that'll just create a Google Ads campaign. That's not what you're hiring someone like me or Michael
Yeah.
for. We're delivering value beyond pushing buttons and changing settings inside of Google Ads. So assess data readiness, clarifying the goals and expectations. Before I move on to the third one, Michael, any thoughts, comments?
Mate, I already have. So that's why I'm like sitting on the side of my seat. So, man, that asking, do you feel like this is realistic? And it's so powerful because the reality is the human mind just goes into autopilot and just assumes that, like, oh, just it doesn't even question belief systems. So it's like, I want this, therefore it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
By asking the question, is it realistic? It puts the onus back on them to justify why it's realistic, not you, which means that you can understand their thinking patterns behind it, but also questions their thinking patterns, which they haven't even done. Because they might go, oh, yeah, because of this and this. Actually, maybe not. Like, by putting the question on them, you're asking them to give you the answer rather than you telling them the answer. Because if you tell them the answer, they can get defensive. If you ask a question and they come up with the answer, they think that's truth. Now, the risk is that they're like, yeah, it is realistic. I doubt it. Most of the time when you do question people, especially if you're an authority and you ask with conviction, people will just start to just question, like doubt themselves. People just doubt themselves in general in life. So if you actually just question someone about anything, their conviction about that thing just goes down astronomically just because like you're questioning them rather than just blindly believing it. So,
Yeah.
and when you make as Carl Jung says, like when you make the unconscious conscious, you can actually start to change it. So the unconscious
Mm-hmm.
is non-changeable, but when you make it conscious, you can. And when you're asking questions, you're eliciting these like unconscious beliefs and fears and worries out of them that
Mm-hmm.
you can actually start addressing as well.
Right. Yeah, and look, folks, we're not trying to be, well, maybe Michael is, manipulative here. I'm just going to beat you to it because
He's
I know you're
correct.
going to say I am. We're not trying to be just manipulative here. We're trying to also plant the seed and encourage iterative thinking, which is the foundation of what we do with paid search
Yeah.
advertising or account management and advertising. It is all about iteration over time. It's not about finding the perfect strategy and then just firing the agency. That's not going to
Yeah.
work long term. That might work right away. Even then, that's very questionable. It's about planting the seed. We want them to have and grow critical thinking skills and an iterative way of thinking about things. If we start asking, is this realistic, right from the get-go, that gets them into the right train of thought as
Yeah.
we develop this relationship if it goes forward. So that's what we want. That's another piece of this. Yeah.
You've got to and take a step back from all of this, not you, Cory, but anyone, myself, and come from the frame of this. You're the expert. Now, if you don't ask these questions and you don't set these like frames and you don't question their expectations, you're not an expert. You're just like an employee below them. You've got to come in on the same level or higher that you're leading them. They want to be led, they don't want to lead. But you need to also give them the ability to feel like they're not being controlled. So you do need to ask them questions to see what their expectations are. Now, Cory, you said getting like visibility on like the outcomes and the expectations around that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to ask you further, what about the expectations of the relationship, how you communicate, like the non-results things, like the expectations of like anything else, reporting, like email communications, calls, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how do you set that? Because I know you're really clear and direct with your time and you respect it highly.
Yep. Yeah, that is a big part of it. I'm glad you mentioned it. Usually, it kind of blends between the onboarding and what have we been calling it, the screening process, if you will. Though it tends to lean towards screening because I don't want to be signing on a client who has
Yeah, dude.
unrealistic expectations in terms of communication. Um, there, it's kind of interesting because this does depend a lot on how nuanced the objectives are and how much spend, in other words, how much risk they're taking, which can necessitate not over communication because there is a fine line there, but a certain amount of communication. Most clients probably fit. I would just say most clients, not in terms of my agency, but most clients in terms of the Google Ads universe probably fit into a monthly reporting call with check-ins, especially if things are really big, or there's a lot of changes happening, or
Yeah.
if it's a very new account, there's going to be nuance there. But generally speaking, yeah, I want to make sure that expectations are very clear on communication because that will ultimately determine the scope, not just the scope, but how much we're pricing
Yeah.
for working with this client, like you said, and you covered that really well. So,
The terms make the deal, not the
yeah,
price.
yeah, exactly.
It's very different. You can charge two clients the same amount of money. You can charge one client 3 grand a month, another client 10 grand a month. That
Mm-hmm.
10 grand a month client may not be worth it.
Yes.
They could be like
So
the only client that you have to work on. It may make you feel like you're working in house versus a 3K a month client who's just like easy chill. And you're like, I could have like 50 of these.
yeah, right. I was going to say, if you're an agency and you could get 50 low maintenance clients, that's going to be way more
Yeah.
profitable for you than two clients that
Yeah.
hit your email up every single day with tons of
Yeah.
questions and they're over analyzing everything. So yeah, it's
Now,
very
even
true.
saying this right now, like this, the work still gets done. It's not about like work, but the problem is when clients communicate too much, it does eat into that kind of like that. Not that we count our hours, but that kind of like availability to put that effort into the work in the client. And I can say, if any of my clients are watching this right now, um, you probably know who you are if we're talking about the low communications. And I'm telling you, you know you're getting great results because I'm actually spending that time on your account and then I'm
Yeah.
on the call and you're a smart business owner. I don't have any clients at the moment who are over communicating, but if you do see this in the future, I'm telling you right now, this will be ruining your management. It gets in the way because
Mm-hmm.
the more you communicate, the more like random like side quests you're creating that confuse the specialist, confuse the company rather than just going, here's our objective,
Mm.
move towards it. That's it.
Yeah, I think with over communication, it also creates a risk of over optimizing the account.
Oh,
So as a
definitely.
business owner or someone that's the point of contact for an agency, if you are micromanaging everything, you're creating a really big problem you might not even see, which is that they're now worried that you're looking at every little thing, and so they start doing things. Um, Before they're justifiable, there's not enough data to do it, but they're just worried that you're going to send them another email, that you're going to beat them up about these changes not being made in this ad group or whatever.
Yeah.
And then what you're creating is something you don't want, which is poor performance. So I think it's a responsibility for agencies to communicate with clients clearly, but it's also very important to set expectations around what healthy communication looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a little hack just to add in is
Mm-hmm.
ask them what data they need to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because every business is different. Like you don't assume that they just want to see cost per lead or ROAS. They might go, yes, I want to see all that stuff, which everyone does, but they're like, look, I really want to know this metric.
Yep.
Figure out a way to automate that. And
Yep.
then you don't have to be when they don't keep following you up. And then that way they've got that data 24 hours a day. That's
Yep.
what I do. We start off with our base data. I'm like, this is the data you need. This is the data I think you should need. Is there any other data points that you want? And they're like, oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, maybe not. Every client call I have, hey, like, we've noticed this data. Is that something that's actually important to you? Yeah, that actually is important. Cool. I'm going to automate that. So that's available to you 24/7. If you've got a
Yeah.
meeting in 15 minutes and you need that data for the call, you've got it there because
Yep.
that's a big thing that actually comes in the future is the reporting aspect and certain points that might take you 45 minutes to an hour to get that data, which is what's crazy is you could spend that 45 minutes to an hour once to automate that data into a spreadsheet or a dashboard and it's there forever. So a
Yep.
lot of these client emails in the future usually come from like them wanting to know things. It's usually data based rather than insight based. Create a way to automate it and that will shortchange it. But that comes from a question of going, what data is actually really important to you? They will say they don't know. Honestly, they will say they don't know, or just this thing. As time goes on, you've got to go, it seems like this data is important to you. Is it? And they're like, no, or yes. And he's like, would you like me to automate that? That would be amazing. But then don't go into like creating automations for every data point, because then there's too many that don't use it. So just really, once again, use that intelligence inside of you to go, they've been mentioning that this data is really important. I'm manually pulling this. Why don't I just spend half an hour figuring out how to just put it into a place, and it's done there forever?
Yeah, but ask, don't assume. That's
really
important.
No assumptions, guys. Don't be an ass. Assumption.
Don't be an ass. All right, so we're out of time, but I did say there was 3 things. I only got to 2, so I'll just really fast.
Cliffhanger, mate. Cliffhanger.
No, not for our audience. No. Okay, this is going to be like a 10-second thing. So it's the last point here. So assess the data readiness. What did I say? Goals and expectations. The second one, make sure you're clarified on the goals and expectations, and then making sure that you're evaluating opportunities or potential for impact. That's a big part of the screening process. Is as best as you can, Q&As prior to the prospecting call, real time, just double checking things. So look for opportunities, easy wins, product feeds, seasonal spikes, big campaigns are spending and not getting any good results, whatever that means for the client. You might want to kind of politely steer away from people that have those unrealistic expectations. The data's not really in a good place, at least yet. You might find that there's not a lot of impact that you can make. Michael, you've mentioned this a lot. These are all things that might just say, hey, diplomatically, we need to find a way to say, how about you either hire somebody else or you do something internally, hiring internally to fix some of these pieces, and then we can come back to this, and then my fees are justifiable. Otherwise, let's potentially get started and go down the road of building and growing this relationship in your business. So that's it, folks. That is Cory. The top 3 screening prospects checklist.
Wonderful. Well, let's wrap this one up. Cory, how do people find you, mate?
Yep, my website, adsbycory.com. We're also posting content for PPC Unfiltered on LinkedIn, YouTube, and occasionally on Twitter. And Michael, how about yourself?
Nice. You guys know where to find me. No, I'm joking. This is your first time. Michael Nadalin on LinkedIn, marketlead.com.au, and MarketLead on YouTube as well. Been releasing new content. So like, comment, subscribe, watch this podcast, share this with your friends, share it with your mom, your dad, your grandma, your children, anyone who wants to make more money with advertising.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. See you guys. See you, Cory.